For cheap D2R items, visit aoeah.com. You get 3% off with the code ARIAD. Check the link in the description. Hello and welcome everybody. In this guide, I'll show you how to work with a very cheap Barb build at the start of the season. We only need some lower runes and elite bases to build up the core of the build, as well as some unique and set items that drop very often, and the build is ready for hell mode. Especially for Travinkal, this is the best budget build I've played so far. Of course, I have a whole series of other farm spots for you, but as always, let's start with stats and skill points. We need enough strength and dexterity for the gear. My base stats here are 190 and 94, so I still have some flexibility. Remaining points go into vitality. We have a typical Frenzy Barb skill set, so 20 in Frenzy and Double Swing, and 1 point in Leap is also useful. Then 20 in Sword Mastery, and 1 point in each of the lower 4 masteries. For the shouts, 20 in Battle Order, 1 each in Battle Command and Find Item. The remaining points go into Taunt, which is a synergy to Frenzy. Overall, the skill tree looks like this. Now the equipment. Core of the setup are these 2 runeword weapons, Unbending Will and Hustle, each in a Colossus blade. For Hustle, you can also use a Colossus sword or any other base you have, but for Unbending Will we need 6 sockets, which we can only get in a Colossus or Face Blade. And since the Colossus blade does considerably more damage and also has more range, this is the ideal weapon. Thanks to the Fanaticism aura from Hustle and the speed boost from Frenzy, we can achieve an enormous attack speed with the Colossus blades. Then Ariad's faced with an Art rune, which is particularly important for our resistances, and a Durus chest plate. It is not quite as important, but it rounds off the build quite well. As long as you don't have the Ariads and the rune for Durus, I recommend using Duriel's shell and some helmet with resistances, such as a Talrasha mask or a Rock Stopper. Then I have Atma's Scarab. This amulet raises my poison resistance, and thanks to the Amplify Damage curse, I can also fight physically immune monsters. Again, it's not so dramatic if you don't have the amulet yet, the build also works fine without it. Then we have Laying on Hands for attack speed and fire resistance. The bonus damage to demons is also very useful here. A String of Ears for more life leech and some damage reduction. And Natalia's Soul for running speed and resistances. These items drop very often, and if necessary you can trade them very cheap. A Raven Frost is nice for no longer getting frozen and for the attack rating bonus. On the other ring we will need some mana leech. In the change hand we have 2 Warcry spears, which you can buy from Mala or other vendors. You will just need a little patience. In my inventory I have 2 small resist charms, each for cold, lightning and fire. But without them, the resistances still are quite okay. I also have some items from the Immortal King set in the sideboard, which is a good way to get more magic find. The helmet has up to 40%, plus 2 sockets that we can fill with yellow gems. The shoes give a bonus of 25% MF when wearing 2 pieces. But if we put on the set parts however, we will lose many resistances. In stash I still have the belt, which can re-improve the resistances a bit, and also the gloves, so you can vary a bit, and optionally get more set bonuses. I don't use a mercenary here, but you could assume to get an Act 5 barbarian and equip him just like yourself. So if you find ethereal bases, that's a good use. Let's take a look at the statistics. Frenzy and level 1 Fanaticism aura give us so much attack speed that the extra IAS from gloves and weapons is sufficient. We get up to 11 frames per animation, which is about 4.5 attacks per second, while the maximum speed boost is active. At level 85, we've got 2400 life with Warcry, 2 and 3000 maximum damage with the 2 weapons, and over 6000 attack rating each. When using the standard setup we have maximum resistances while battle command is active. With the magic find setup we can get up to 123 magic find, but especially lightning resistance is missing enormously, but also fire and cold. But at some farm spots this can be okay. So let's have a look at the best farm spots now. First of course is Travi, but better go there with full resistances, especially fire. After all, there are plenty of Hydras waiting for us, but depending on the Elite Council member mods, you may also need the other resists. Then in Act 5 there is the typical quick route, Pindle, Eldritch and Shank. Here you could also play the magic find gear, but before you should make sure that the target isn't lightning enchanted. Conveniently, I have my items in the cube, so I can switch quick and easy by shift left click. You can also extend the route and farm the other super unique monsters up to the Crystalline Passage, Sharptooth at the first Barbarian Cage, Eyeback at the border to the Ariad Plateau, and finally Thrash Socket just in front of the entrance to the Crystalline Passage. The fast running speed and the ability to jump over obstacles are great here. Further, there are also several T85 areas that I can recommend. In the first act, the pit in the Tamo Highlands, in the second act the Stony Tomb, and in the third act the Arachnid Lair directly at the first waypoint. In Act 5 you could also explore the Red Portals Abaddon, Pit of Acheron and Infernal Pit, especially when choosing the longer Frigid Highlands route. However, there can also be some nasty monsters there, so better use resistances. For the pit and the Arachnid Lair, you can usually take the magic find instead. With that I'll say goodbye for today, take care and may the loot be with you.
Follow me. Come on. Thank you. Goodbye.